You know, in the movies, when the SWAT team rolls in all slow-mo, everybody looking like action figures? Yeah, this ain't that. This is Ready or Not, and it feels real, like heart-pumping, room-clearing, try not to get your teammates smoked kind of real. And it's finally coming to PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series XS on July 15th. You get 18 intense missions, solo or with your squad of 5. Clearing buildings, protecting civilians, and breaching with brains, not just bullets. This ain't run and gun, it's strategy, it's tension. It's like diffusing a situation and your childhood trauma at the same time. You can fully customize your team, armor, gear, outfits, weapons, and it's got full cross-play, so no matter what system your crew's on, y'all can roll together. Pre-order now, and they're throwing in some serious gear. The M32A1 grenade launcher, MKV pistol, and 590M shotgun. PC players, you're getting all that, plus the new Los Sueños Stories DLC, free on launch day. So if you're ready for the best tactical shooter of the year, a game that rewards brains, teamwork, and clean comms, this one's for you. Go pre-order Ready or Not now, out July 15th on PlayStation, Xbox, or PC.
What's up, you little hamster wrangling scoliosis crab apple eaters? You guys ready? Huh? You ready to play a little bit of junk bump with daddy? You ready for some powdered sugar up in your butt? Ooh, diabetes. We got one of the oldest wiggers in the game coming in studio. We got a wonderful episode. We got some first-time callers talking about crotch touch, their first experience. And it's the Mother's Day aftermath. So, thank you for joining me. Welcome to This Past Weekend. This Past Weekend. Mother's Day has come and gone, and everybody's, hopefully gotten to spend some time with their mother, talk to them, had a nice conversation, or listen to them. I find as I get older, it's about just listening to my mother. You know, I just want to make sure that she's okay, and that she's trying, she's not worrying. I think those are things that start to help me the most. I spoke to my mother today. I sent her some flowers, actually, from Bloom That. You might have heard that we'd been advertising for them. I sent some flowers to her from there, and she has a husband who has Alzheimer's, and so he don't do much. He was in the war. He was in maybe a couple wars. I think maybe I want to say possibly the Korean War. He's got some issues with some Asians. I do know that. Doesn't make him a bad person. They had issues with him as well, I'm sure, during the war. So, but he don't do much. He likes to put on mittens or gloves, and he likes to take them off. So that's one of his hobbies these days. A couple times he would break out of the house and go get himself a little can of liquor or can of beer. And he would have that somewhere being sneaky, and my mother would have to go find him. So that's kind of what he's up to. And he have Alzheimer's. So it was nice to speak to my mother and just make sure she was okay. She enjoyed her flowers, and the flowers came with some caramels, different, fancy brown candies, but nice ones that melt in your mouth and make you feel, make your whole mouth feel kind of almost naughty a little bit, salty and sweet and kind of just nasty a little, but also good and beautiful. So she enjoyed those, I'm pretty sure. And we had a nice time, man. I'm at the age now where, It's not about holding any grudges against my mother. It's about finding solutions if I do have issues. We're more and more a little bit able to talk about things, and it's just about kind of just letting her know that I love her. I feel like when I think about it, and I'm sorry, welcome to this past weekend, man. I'm just talking out of the blue, I hear. I want to thank you guys for joining me. I hope your Mother's Days were beautiful. I hope I saw a lot of pictures on Instagram of people's mothers. I liked as many as I could. And it was, but I spoke to my mom and I just want her to be happy. That's all I want. When I was young, I thought I was a daddy's boy, or a dad's boy, whatever it's called. I can't remember. Daddy's boy sounds almost like, somebody that's, being hired as like a male escort or something, maybe out in Scottsdale or in Palm Springs. So I'm not that. I just thought my dad wasn't around, so I thought I was I just wanted to be that, because when you're young, you want to be whatever you're not, kind of, you want to be the, you want to raise hell, you want to cause ruckus. So I thought I was a daddy's boy. But I wasn't, man. As I get older, I realize that I'm just, I just want my mother to be happy. And I just, I'm like my mother in a lot of ways. Some good and some bad. But I'm more of a mama's boy. And it took me a long time to realize that. But I'm realizing it now. But yeah, it's at a certain point, you can't hold grudges anymore. If I'm still holding grudges against my mother, I'm 37 years old, and something's wrong, then it's my issue. It's not our issue anymore. It's my issue. So I have to figure out what's going on. If I am, come to terms with it and get out of it, because life is short and our lives are short. And I just want my mother to be happy, when I think about it. We had a little bit of a tough spell over growing up. And I was pretty blessed, man. I found a bunch of different mothers that took me into their families and into their homes, and made me feel like a regular kid, and loved me and helped me out as much as possible. I got emancipated at 14, and I spent time living with friends and families, and I've just been eternally, when I really think about it, blessed by the grace that people showed me. I mean, I have been shown more joy more grace and more, I've been helped. So it's amazing to me that a mother, that they can extend beyond their own children when they have a lot of those qualities. And it's pretty fascinating. But these days, I talk to my mother and I just want her to be happy, and sometimes she just talks and I don't know what she's talking about. I just try to listen and be a quiet listener, try to be supportive. But she got some tulips. That's what I sent, and I hope she enjoyed them. I'm going to jump off that conversation right now. Or actually, I guess when I think about my mother even more, I didn't always treat my mother very good. That's one thing I realize as I get older. I wasn't a good son. I have some responsibilities as a son. I've talked about this before, but, I rejected my mother a lot of times. I wasn't like a proud son a lot of times. I was just uncomfortable, and I was just selfish. And I know I was a child, and you have a right to be selfish as a child because you have to have your needs met when you're a young child. But as you get older, you can just be being selfish. If all you're concerned about is getting your needs met, then at a certain point there's a lot of selfishness there, and I was that a lot of times, and I rejected my mother, because we didn't have any money sometimes, and I rejected her maybe because she didn't. My mother was a hard worker, still is, and she didn't take care of herself that much, or she didn't care about beauty. She didn't care about looking fancy or putting on makeup or anything, but that made me feel, like she just didn't care about putting on airs for anyone. She was a very real woman. And at the time when I was young, I guess I wanted her to put on airs. I wanted, that idea of a mom that you see. like on the televisions, on Leave It to Beavers and stuff like that, different shows, regular shows, Roseanne, but more of a thin Roseanne. So, I rejected my mother a lot, and I feel bad about some of those things. But I'm old, but now one of the blessings I still have my mom is that I'm able to discuss those things with her and get into them. And, it's never too late to apologize. It doesn't have to be a special phone call that you make to your mom. It doesn't have to be on Mother's Day. It can be on any Monday like today. If you got something to say, just get it out of your heart and get it out of your soul and get it into your mother's ears. There's no place better for a son's concerns, I don't think, than their mother's ears. Even if she's not going to give you the response you want, I think there's just something about a son or a daughter saying something to their mother, and just putting it on them that is innately comforting to us. And I put a lot of pressure on my mom growing up. It was just her. And when you're a child like that, and it's just your mother, you naturally look to your mother for whatever your father's supposed to give you as well. And so it can give you it can put, ridiculous, unachievable desires and expectations on your mother because you are looking for a complete circle of parenting, and there's no way your mother can give it all to you because she can't be a man. She can't be, two parents. So there's all. So I have a lot of, I'll probably have some resentments or, some amends to make in that category too. Once I figure out what expectations I put on my mother that I probably was supposed to put on a father, but they weren't there because that's not my mother's responsibility. That's my father's responsibility who wasn't around. But anyway, I'm not trying to bring everybody down. I started shit off bad. What the fuck, Theo? I don't know, man. We got a good episode, dude. I got the oldest wigger in the game coming in, Mr. Raja Rod. I've been a fan of this man for a long time, and I've seen him here and there, and you guys are going to be excited. We got some great calls that came in from some listeners. I want to do a special episode this week, I think, hopefully, just about, I think it's going to be about manhood and what that means. We've had a lot of calls about it, and thank you so much for calling and hitting the hotline. That number is 985-664-9503. We got people calling in about the first time they touched some crotch and sharing those experiences. And I know it's a weird thing on a Mother's After Day special to get into that, but we're going to get into that. Some of those crotch calls and take some crotch callers. So, wanna be a baller, crotch caller. So I was fascinated by that. I think because crotch and touch, boy, touching crotch when you're young, it is like a dam. It's like somebody just, it's like the first time you ever see one of those babies that could hear for the first time on those videos. It's like, this magic baby, they put headphones on this magic baby. And, baby could see for the first time. Baby gets retinas repaired for the first time. When I see that, that's what it is like. For a man, it is anyway. The first time you down there touching some, we'll say cooter, to keep things comfortable here on this Mother's Day special. We'll say cooter. The first time you're seeing some cooter, you really are touching some. It's like that first time. It's just like one of those videos on Facebook where, dog hears its owner. Dog hears its owner for the first time. Dog sees its cousin for the first time. It's like one of those, it's one of those, man. It's that magical moment where it's like this area that you can, and there's so much heat. That's what I remember about that crotch heat, bro. It was, God, it was like somebody had just put a furnace inside of, a woman's pants. It was just like, you ever get those mitten packets that keep your hands warm if you do skiing or you do outdoor work in the Kodiak or in the cold weather? Or if your freezer doesn't have a door, your refrigerator doesn't have a door, and your kitchen gets really cold. because they don't have ways to close them up, and you have to use those freezer packets, you know. And I'm sure that's probably erroneous. A lot of people don't have that. I had a friend who didn't have any freezer door or refrigerator door. Someone had stolen the doors to their appliance, many of their appliances actually, and so the cold would always be coming out, and so they'd have to wear extra shirts and stuff. But you have this. They have these hand warmers you can get, and man, it was like the first time you put your hand down by a girl's crotch. That's kind of what occurred. I felt like. But we're going to get into some of those calls, and we're going to get to our guest. We're going to get to it. I'm going to tell you what else this past weekend. Not much, man. You know, to be honest with you, I probably had I think 16 comedy sets at the different clubs. I hung out with Howie Mandel for a little bit, and it was nice actually. Howie's always been really nice to me. He's a charming man, and we had a good time. I got to see him and his wife. She's a lovely lady. We had a nice time, man. Howie's funny, and he's got a great heart. If you ever see celebrities on TV and you don't know what some of them are like, that's fine. But you can know this about Howie Mandel. He may seem bizarre, you know, and maybe his humor is for you or isn't for you. That's not to be judged. I mean, you can judge it. That's fine, but don't doubt that he's a nice man. He's a very nice man. He's just a good guy. What else happened, dude? I felt better. I appreciate it. I got a lot of calls from people this week, seeing how I was feeling, and I feel a little bit better. Some of that was just being off the road and being able to be at home and enjoy my environment, man. My plants were dying. I got 2 plants, and they were dying, and so it was just felt a little bit better. I took a walk today. So I'm going to drop these dates on you guys right now, and then we're going to get into our guest. He's going to be here in studio, and then we're going to get some calls, man. These are some of my favorite calls. I'm really, really excited about this. Next weekend, the 25th through 28th, I'll be at Tampa at the Side Splitters Comedy Club, and then I'll be in Pittsburgh June 1st through June 4th, okay? And then I will be at Gotham in New York City, June 23rd through June 24th in New York City, New York. They call it the same thing to piss you off right there. And then I'm in Wyoming, Illinois, and that's about an hour from the Quad Cities in Iowa. It's a small town at the Paramount Theater, and those tickets are available on theovon.com. I also have a new album that came out. It's of my early stuff. Now, if you picked up an album at my show, it might be the same material. So I'm just letting you know that if you want to check the material before you purchase it. But it's Musket Fire, The Early Years of Satire, and that's available now on iTunes. It's a lot of the stuff from the Netflix special. So it's not material that is similar. It's not the same material from the Netflix special, but it's similar material. And it's on sale now. Then I'll be, where else? I'll be at the Improv in Orlando. I think we moved those dates to July 13th through 16th. Also, you can grab 30-pound bag of hamster bones, which is still on sale. And theovon.com/store is where you can get most things, T-shirts as well. All right, we got a guest in. I'm excited for him. It's late here, guys. Honestly, it's 1 a.m. here on Pacific Standard coastal time. This past weekend. All right, happy to have him here today, man. Thank you so much for joining me. What I want to say, one of the realest and oldest wiggers in the game, Mr. Roger Rod.
Appreciate that, and it's really a pleasure to work with you, Theo. You have a tremendous reputation, and I can see why.
I appreciate that, man. What do you feel like when I say the term wigger?
Actually, from what I understand of your background, you wouldn't qualify because you actually did assimilate and were accepted with the black culture because they were in your neighborhood. It was about a half and half, as you said.
Yeah, I grew up in half black, half white. We've been discussing this before we jumped on the air. Yeah.
Absolutely. And to me, a wigger is the white kid that lives in Beverly Hills with his mom and dad bought him the Hummer. He has the gold chains, and he sings Living in the Projects. And let's get back to Bel Air, Josh.
Right.
That's pretty much the way I see it.
Okay, so that is more of an accurate description of a wigger where you're from.
From the perception of the way I hear blacks use that term wigger.
Okay.
And, of course, I've used the joke many times around them. Listen, okay, wigger, That's for us, all right? We
Right.
like wigga. Now,
Yeah.
wigga is
Wigga.
okay, but wigger, we put the on the end, now we're going to fight.
Right. Now that's an issue.
Yeah, okay.
So do you feel like that's a term that's accepted in the black community, wigga?
It's very derogatory, really. They look at it like you're trying to bite our style.
Oh, really?
You're stealing from us, and we don't accept you, so don't act like we do.
Wow.
That just, you listen to the music, you wear the clothes, but you're not one of us, so stop trying to act like you are.
I see.
Which is where you don't fit because you actually were.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I grew up in an environment where, I mean, I was in a group called Niggas for Life for a while when I was young. And I'm not saying that made me black, or it was just a group of friends that I that I felt comfortable around.
Right.
You know, we all had it was all single parent families. We're all poor. We're all out on our bikes screwing around every day. And I didn't feel really accepted by like a lot of like the redneck culture. And that was a lot around me. So the only other poor culture around me was black culture. So, you know, you had to kind of fit in somewhere. So I tried to fit in there. And a lot of times I felt like I did, you know, and then a lot of times I felt like I didn't.
There really isn't any way you can ever cross over into that line to total acceptance. There is a lot more of a line between tolerance and acceptance.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I would say. And it's very understandable because I think we all have a certain preconceived notion and acceptance when we see the same skin color we have.
Yeah.
That we identify with this because we live the same life with this color all the time. It's not that we socialize and interact with. This is who we are all the time and we can't change it.
Right.
And that's what I do on stage particularly. I'm not going to plug my act, but I make fun of everybody else's culture because that's really what makes us different. That and what you always mention is the big equalizer, which is money.
Yeah.
If you're poor, it doesn't matter where you are. There's a really brilliant comic that I run into that makes the point of poverty is really what has everybody sectioned off the way they do. Like everyone has the ability to live on some kind of government assistance, but if you're black, you live in the hood with other black people. You could live with the same money in a trailer park, but you're thinking, I may be poor, but I ain't that fucking poor that I'm living with those guys. And the trailer park people the same way. Hey, look, I may be on Section 8 here, but I ain't living in there with them people, and that's how it goes.
Yeah, I'm not going to make that poor choice then also live outside of my culture.
Absolutely.
Like if I'm destitute or if I'm very poor, I'm not going to live outside of my culture.
You're going to still congregate with the people that share your skin color.
Right. Oh, that's interesting, man. I got to ask, what happened in your life that made you realize you were so popular with the black community? Because I don't know another comedian. I'll say this. I don't know another comedian that's your age. I don't even know your age, but I know you're older than me.
Yeah. That's kind. Thank you.
And I don't even know many that are my age that are able to perform for black audiences and fit in with black audiences like you do. What made you realize that was an audience that was for you?
There were a few things. Some of them were based upon the business here in Los Angeles. Some of them were largely associated with football because I played on a lot of all-black teams.
Okay.
And I very much was comfortable with them and had a whole different idea than most white people do about when you really go to war with these guys, you see who they really are. And all of the things you hear about how bad they are just disappear. They're your brothers. You'll die for them.
Right.
And then there's the other thing. When I first started dabbling in black clubs, I saw like a 60-minute show. And the guy that was talking said something about white people are terrified to talk about race. And with black people, race is everything. And the first thing I thought of was, well, I'm not afraid to talk about race. And there's some kind of a vibe about me that I'm not trying to make myself out to be something mystical, but there's some kind of a vibe in the way I carry myself that black people look at me and they say, he doesn't hate us. He isn't afraid of us. He just seems like he's comfortable here, and they pick up on that. And I've always felt that way because I give that off because that is the way I feel. I'm not afraid of them. I don't hate them, and I'm comfortable there.
Yeah. All right. So, Roger, I got to ask, are you black or white?
I would have to say I'm white on the outside and multicolored inside.
Okay. Multicolor. And what colors are we going to see in there if we were to crack you open?
It'd crack me open. I probably bleed red, but a lot of me still identifies with black a lot. I do. I don't think I'm black. I don't try to act black, but I very much appreciate that culture. There's parts of it I don't like, but the major portion of it, what I love most about it is the indomitable spirit. They refuse to be unhappy no matter how many times or ways they get fucked culturally. They always see the upside.
You know, it's interesting because I sometimes feel like, sometimes I'm like, do black people even feel bad? Like, do they even feel sad, you know? Like, because black people are always pretty upbeat or level. And and maybe I've mistooken it as that black people do they not have those feelings?
I would say, without even knowing what the statistics are, but if you looked at them, they've probably got the lowest suicide rate. I have to think so. They always find a reason to keep trying, keep fighting, something to be happy about.
Wow.
Something to see an upside with. Most positive culture. I remember when I first started playing black clubs, it was at a really low point in my life. I'd gone through a bad romance. I was more poverty-stricken than I'd ever been. My career didn't seem to be going anywhere, and I'm playing in black clubs. And I'm in these really low income neighborhoods, and I'm being as kind as I can, and seeing comics that I knew were living in cars and living in very poor conditions, and they would get on stage and say something like, I woke up today, the sun hit my face, it's a beautiful thing to be alive. And I'm thinking, what the fuck is wrong with me? That if this guy can see life that way, where did I go wrong? What's so bad about my life?
Wow.
Real positivity.
Yeah.
And you play football with them, and you really get it. They're your brothers. And the other thing I noticed on the football scene is that you would get on these 14-hour bus drives we sometimes had to take, and the white guys would all be sitting around bored, shitless, maybe reading a book, but most of the time just staring at the front seat. And the blacks are in back playing dominoes and playing spades and cards, yucking it up, laughing it up, high-fiving. They always were fucking having more fun than we were, and I started hanging around with them.
Yeah. Yeah, why do black people have more fun than white people? Because like the most fun sometimes white people, it seemed like white people would be like, you know, like, ooh, ooh, you know, like I'm having a good time, you know, but like black people will really, like, you know, if they're having a good time.
And they usually are. They can get a big kick out of a very small thing.
Yeah.
And that's what's really funny culturally is some of the times something that you and I would say to each other if we were just kind of exchanging insults in a friendly way, that it wouldn't be anything particularly funny, but it's something their culture's never heard. And like I called this guy, you snot-nosed little bitch, and that just killed him. You snot-nosed little bitch. They'd never heard a man call another man a snot-nosed little bitch. And it's not, but now some of the names that they come up with that you and I never heard it, you roll on the floor. It's where the fuck did you put that combination of words together?
Now, a lot of white guys are afraid to make love to black women because I feel like, because black women, they fuck back, I feel like, you know? Like white women, it seems like you kind of fuck them, you know? But black women, it really seems like they fuck back, you know? Like they got that real attack pussy at times. Do you ever feel like that?
Well, you've been with black girls growing up where you did, I'm sure.
No. I was with one black girl who had like some crazy mirrors on her ceiling stuff out here. Mm-hmm. And that may have been the only one I can't remember at this moment.
The culture in general is very aggressive in the way that they do the flirting and the dating game. It's very different than ours. Very, very different. I mean, they're just very aggressive, male and female. If they want you, they'll let you know, and they'll make it very clear you're stepping over the line, or you're very welcome. Come on board.
Right.
It's a very demonstrative thing, once again. That's the way they are.
Yeah.
Culture. I mean, when I say they, I hate to say that like them, all them people. I'm not.
No, but look, we're talking about black and white culture.
We're talking about a culture. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's been my experience. That when a sister wants to get with you, there's no guesswork. She'll let you know. Wow. She'll definitely let you know.
And do you have any tips for like a white guy who's trying to get with some sisters out there, or really trying to, you know, test, some of the black women and see if they have a chance with some? Do you have any guidance there?
It depends on what you're trying to get with. If you're just trying to get laid, all you need is a lot of money. That'll probably work, and spend a lot of money.
Because that's for any women.
That's for any woman. That's the ultimate equalizer. If you're looking to kind of fit in, the first thing that you want to do is just be real. Be you. That's going to work best. Be real. If you try to act black, there couldn't be a bigger turnoff.
Yeah. Why is it that I feel like a lot of the younger black comics now couldn't make it in a black room?
Younger black comics, you mean such as the ones you see in a mainstream club?
Yeah.
Because they've geared their act towards a white audience. They've geared their act to cross over to a white audience and done material that is very different from the culture that they come from most of the time. Or they're suburb blacks that are more comfortable in the white culture because they're not familiar with the hood.
Right.
That's often the case as well. A suburb black has almost as much disconnect to the black culture as you and I do.
Why is it hard even like, I mean, I grew up in like a white hood, you know, I mean, it was, you know, we were right on, we shared, you know, we're right next to the poor black neighborhood was the poor white neighborhood. I mean, there wasn't, we all rode the same school buses together. Why is it that it's hard to let go of the hood for people? Do you feel like even if they transcend class or environment, why does like the hood like stick to you? Do you know what I'm talking about at all?
I surely do, and it is a phenomenon that's very difficult for us to understand. It's something that I think there's a part of it that they like the idea that this is something I rose up from, and the friends that I have left behind are now my entourage and my fan club and the people that I know that I can trust to have the most connection towards. Like Biggie, when he was at his apex, a lot of times he said he found himself daydreaming about what was going on in the hood. And here's a guy living in penthouse, private jet level wealth. And he was wondering, what are the homies doing on the streets? Yeah. And that's just something that is a very difficult thing to disconnect from.
Yeah, and I guess because maybe life's so real out there. Like, you know, I felt like even in our neighborhood, life was very real for us because we all spent time together outdoors, you know, like there wasn't anything going on indoors except like fighting, you know, the air, we couldn't run the air conditioner. So it was like, it wasn't even comfortable to be indoors. So everybody was outdoors, and that's where, you know, you just got acclimated in your environment. You were really in your environment.
Right.
You know, you didn't just meet up for like play dates like kids do now and stuff like that. I mean,
play dates.
We spent our lives outdoors.
Absolutely. And that's one thing you don't see that much of anymore, particularly in white culture. I mean, could you imagine probably in the home you grew up in that on a nice, bright, sunshiny day, you're sitting on the couch playing with your Xbox? My mom and dad would have said, get the fuck outside and go play.
Yeah.
You're not sitting around on that thing all day.
Yeah. No, it would have been, or given us a set amount of time, but then it's time to go.
Then it's time to go, exactly.
Yeah, you guys need to get outside. And didn't even really keep tabs. I think now everybody's just scared of like kidnappers, you know, like I was talking about, and pedophiles of attacking children, you know, and stuff like that. But to not even enjoy years of playing outside because of maybe one pedophile, that seems intense to me, you know?
And it really is a sad thing that we have come to that, such as now we're living in a culture that has swung once again with that pendulum too far in one direction, where you'll see a parent smack their kid in the ass in a grocery market, and then 15 minutes later, Child Protective Services is at their front door, and they're child abusers. That was not part of our lives growing up.
No.
And the kind of thing about walking to and from school at the age of, say, 6 years old. A 6-year-old kid walking to and from school by himself right now, the police are going to show up.
Yeah.
And they're probably going to harass the parents. That's some kind of child endangerment. Christ, we did it all the time. That was just part of it.
Now, I notice sometimes my tone of voice will change when I'm around black people, you know, if I'm around certain black people. Some black people it won't. And maybe that's just nature of just acclimating to an environment. What do you think about that? Because I know this happens a lot with white people and black people.
As long as it's not overdone, it's something that I look at it that I get a little jargony. Because when I'm around Latinos, I speak a little bit of Spanish.
Yeah, I'll even pull on a Latino accent, a Mexican accent, or a Spanish
when
accent.
I'm around, when anyone that you're around, if you're around a bunch of blue bloods, you're going to change your whole style.
Yeah.
All you have to really do to change your entire personality is put on a fucking suit sometime and walk out the door and immediately have a different attitude.
Yeah.
And a whole different demeanor about you.
Yeah, you feel like shit, dude.
Yeah,
I might have a job.
Yeah. We're all things to all people. There's nothing wrong with it as long as you don't overdo it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is there like a kind of what's a good starter kit for a kid these days who wants to kind of, you know, wig up a little and get into black culture? What's a good starter kit kind of? Like, what does he need to know? Like, what's some guidance?
Is remember he's white and don't try to act black. There couldn't be a bigger turnoff.
Right. Remember you're white and don't try to act black.
And don't try to act black. Don't try to come with the jargon. Don't try to, what's up, yo, what's up, son? You know what I'm saying, son? You got to stop all that shit.
Yeah.
They can see right through it. They can see right
that's
through
Seth
it.
Green. That's like something Seth Green would do.
It's like a bad impersonation of Seth Green.
Yeah. And what else? Like when it comes to like attire or anything like that, cologne, like is there any sort of, you know, what else do you need to know? You know, like what else do you have to, you know, do you have to have? Attitude. What about an attitude?
Be real. Be real. Don't be afraid.
Yeah.
Be real. Don't be afraid. And that's the one thing that look a brother right in the face and say, what's up? That'll get you miles. because they're expecting you to stare at the ground. They're expecting you to kiss their ass. They're expecting you to giggle at everything they say. Just what's up? Talk to them. Be a person.
Just be real.
Yeah, just be real. Just be you. That always works. Blacks love real. They love real. You know what else they respect? Balls. Balls. I have said some things on stage I cannot believe I said, and it was one of those, I don't believe you said that, but it was funny type of laughs, and I got out of there alive just fine.
Yeah.
But I've said some incredibly racy, edgy things. But again, one more of the thing is, and believe me, I'm not trying to come off like I'm the great me, but I am known to the other white comics when they come into the club and they see what I do and they're newer and they're trying to cross over and they see what I do and they think, oh, that's it. All you have to do is be really edgy and be really over the You got to know where the lines are, and I found them out the hard way just like anybody else has to.
That's the urban update right there from the white side.
From the white guy, yes.
The bridge to Terra, the bridge to Blackabethia. That's kind of what you are a little bit for us, man. You know, because you've been out there. You're learning, man. Learning
is the best way to put it. Part of the culture, absolutely not. I always say the same thing to the newer white comics when they come into the club. This is what you need to remember. Act like you're a guest in somebody's home, because you are. Because when these black comics go to the mainstream clubs, they get treated like shit. So don't act like you have some entitlement to be on the stage. Act like you're a guest in someone's home.
It's interesting. I think that's a great thing to remember for almost no matter where we are, you know. But especially, culturally, you know. We still have to remember that there's, you know, even though we're all Americans, that there's a lot of there's a lot of cultural differences, you know. Gigantic at all. And to say the other thing is that when people say the term that we're all racist, I don't believe in that, because again, I've said for the umpteenth time, there's one race, the human race. Yeah.
But I think we all are guilty of prejudice, those of us that are going to be honest. Prejudice, the root of which is prejudge. We all see somebody of a different culture and prejudge them in some way or another, consciously or unconsciously.
Yeah.
For example, you're on a plane, somebody walks in with a turban. What do you think?
A turban of what?
Meaning that they walk in with a burqa. They walk in with a scarf.
Headpiece.
Yeah, you walk in with something.
I don't know what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, but you see somebody that's clearly from the Middle East. What's the first thing you're thinking?
Oh, yeah, they're probably hiding jewels or something.
They got a bomb, or this guy is Haji that's going to hijack the plane with a razor blade, or who knows what. But you're not thinking, and I certainly have prejudgings towards people that aren't necessarily non-white skin. I prejudge the Russian culture quite a bit. I do that now.
Oh, yeah, I do everyone. I stereotype everyone for sure. I'm a stereotypist. I mean, I'd be a stenographer, you know. I mean, I do. And some of the stereotypes are good and accurate because it gives you healthy ways to approach people. But, yeah, when I guess going to a place of judgment sometimes can be, it can be dangerous because you might not get the full opportunity out of an opportunity.
What it does is it'll make you a better person. Just like I think we've discussed anything, I won't say anything out of school, but we're at least both familiar with 12-step groups.
Yeah.
And the first chance anybody has to ever beat an addiction is they must be able to look to a crowd and say, hi, my name is blank, I am an alcoholic.
Yeah.
And once you recognize, hi, my name is Roger, and I have prejudice towards other people. And that's your first chance to give yourself at least a fighting opportunity to overcome it and recognize when you're doing it.
Yeah.
And the first thing that I can think of is I had a Corvette back because it was in 98. I had a Corvette that literally caught fire with me inside of it in a pouring down rainstorm. I barely got to the freeway exit, barely got out of the car alive with the thing almost in bursting flames. And
naughty.
It was pouring down rain. It was in the middle of Oakland. I ran 2 blocks, and I looked like a wet-soaked rat into this liquor store. I didn't have a dime in my pocket. Everything was still in the car. And 2 Middle Eastern guys that I would have been writing jokes about treated me like I was a Here, have a cup of coffee. Use our phone blanket. Don't worry, my friend. You can always buy another car. You're here. It's life. And I felt like a piece of shit because of the way I often speak about that culture.
Wow.
So, we all have to keep our minds open and recognize, I've got this in me.
Because you never know when you're going to need someone of another culture. You never know when you're going to need anyone else.
You never know when you're going to need to have a better opinion of yourself.
Yeah.
That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah. That's a great way to look at it. Well, that's it, Roger Rod. I appreciate you coming in. And people can find you if they want to support the tour. Blue Lives Matter.
Blue Lives Matter Comedy Tour.
Blue Lives Matter Comedy Tour.
Yes, and that's .com. And at Roger Rod on Twitter and on Instagram and Facebook, same thing. And
ROGERRODD.
ROGERRODD, all one word.
Yeah. So you guys check him out. The oldest wigger in the game here with us today, and one of my favorite comedians to watch, man. Dude, I appreciate what you do, man, as I really do feel like, you're helping people realize that that we can learn, man,
Well, as much as I appreciate you for having me on this show, you're a very accomplished, certainly a lot further along in this game than I am. And for you to have brought me on board is a big honor. Thank you very
I hope
much
I'm able to sit there one day and be able to rehash so many good stories and have such a good attitude about my career and just about myself and about what's going on, and to be able to inspire other people to to think. They don't have to think differently, but at least inspire them to start by thinking.
I think you do that already.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
All right, we'll be right back. We're gonna get some. Of you guys' questions. We got some great ones on this Mother's Day episode this past weekend. All right, let's get to some callers, guys. I'm so thankful for the calls. Just the questions. I'm gonna try to do another episode this week for Wednesday or Thursday. It's just a lot, but I'm gonna try. And it's just a lot because I got to pay somebody to edit it, and I got to just to piece it together. There's just a lot of stuff that goes into it. Got to rent studio if I need the studio. So there's just a lot of little things that go into it, but I'm overwhelmed with the amount of calls and questions and inquiries and I just want to say you're welcome. A lot of people have said thank you. I don't feel like I'm doing anything. I feel like I'm kind of a conduit of just trying to make an effort, I think a lot of my life I feel like I don't know if I felt like I haven't been a good person, but I feel like I've just thought about myself. And, I don't want to be that way always. Sometimes selfishness is it's a disease a little bit, because sometimes you're selfish. I think I was selfish growing up because I was just worried that if I didn't think about myself, that nobody was going to be. And I may have said this before, but it's just kind of resonating with me right now. Like, I think I was selfish because I was worried. I was afraid, like if I don't think about me, then nobody is going to be thinking about me in the world. And when you're a kid, that's the scariest thing in the world. To think that no one's going to be thinking about you. That just, I don't know anything more hurtful to a child probably than to feel that no one is going to be thinking about them, that they're unthought of. And so I think I definitely developed some selfishness there as a child. I was just worried that if I wasn't thinking about me, that no one was. And then you get addicted to that. You just get used to it. It becomes a habit. I have to think about me, as a child. But then as an adult, you're just still stranded with this habit that's not serving you anymore. And to get out of that, I have to do things for other people. And I'm still learning that. And I got to try harder. But it is nice to know that some of you guys think that this podcast is helping to do that, because it makes me feel a little less selfish, or it makes me feel like I'm battling that leftover bad habit of just being self-serving. And especially I live in a self-serving city. I have a self-serving job. I feel like people say my job brings laughter to people, but it's hard not to feel like that it's just for me sometimes, or I don't know. But I love you and I appreciate the calls, and I'm grateful, man. There's so many nice messages and stuff. I wish I could play every one for you, and I'm gonna try to slowly incorporate them. I'll save them all, so when they'll fit in, they'll fit in. But let's get to some calls. We do have some female listeners out there, and they're growing. Our female listener population is growing, and I'm excited about that. And we had some callers call in about the first time they touched a little bit of crotch. And when you touch crotch, As a child, you know, it's like, I mean, it's just like somebody have like a friend, you know, you ever see those mitten packets that keep your hands warm? It's like a special packet that you buy that you put into a mitten, or if you have a bag or something, you want to put your hands in a bag, but it's cold in the bag. They got these little heat warmer packets that you can break kind of, or bend, and it cracks something inside of them, and it makes heat, free heat, small amount of heat. And people put those in their mittens or their socks or whatever, and those things warm. It's this intense warm. It's almost like this atomic little slice of rock. Well, that's what it's like for a boy. I felt like the first time you get near that crotch area on a female, you know, the first time you get your hand up near that little female water spout, you know, you just, you know, that flat water spout, really, I should say, you're fired up. I mean, because that's just, I mean, it's the first time, I mean, you came out of a vagina as a child, and then as a teenager, or whenever you get to touch some crotch, it's the first time you get back there. So you've really just been wandering around for a long time away from your, you know, your shuttle bus, you know, the shuttle bus that brought you into existence, the female crotch. And this is almost oddly kind of fitting for Mother's Day, because we all came out of a mother, you know, most of us anyway, unless somebody made you somewhere. But let's get to the call right now. We got Robin in Atlanta calling us, and you are on the line, Robin.
Ooh, I'm nervous. Theo Vaughn. My name's Robin. I'm from Atlanta.
Ooh, she got a nice voice, huh? You like that? They used to have these phone sex lines. They might have them where you could call up at night and spend a bunch of your parents' money and listen to people talk about dirtiness on the air. And does she have a nice voice like those ladies? Orator. Onward.
And I want to comment on about everything that you say, but I wanted to comment specifically about the crotch touching. My first experience with having my crotch touched was...
Is this not exciting to everybody all of a sudden? I'm just like, wow, this is exciting, dude, because I want to know what girls thinking. Onward.
Touched was in the 6th grade.
Ooh, naughty Robin Young. Okay, sorry for interrupting a bunch. Let's go on.
In the 6th grade, in my parents' backyard, in a refrigerator box with my boyfriend.
Wow, refrigerator box. Well, this is already awesome. Let me just say this is already awesome. I will never... next time I see some kids making a space shuttle out of one of those boxes, I'll never second guess that maybe they're up to more than that. That's for sure. Onward.
And I wasn't concerned about it being bad or nasty. It seemed pretty natural. But I was concerned because I knew his hands were dirty and that they might be salty, and that...
Salty hands? Yeah, I mean, that's a concern. I mean, it is a concern. It's your concern, and I appreciate you sharing it with us. I mean, this is an intimate story. But yeah, I guess you could worry if they got salt, something gets up there. You know, you don't want a bunch of, you don't want things to start to purl inside of your vagina, and I don't know if that can occur or not. But yeah, I guess if you get a little bit of salt in there, it could start to purl up over by the time you're about, I mean, that's probably about 12th grade. I think it takes about 6 years for something to pearlize. Anyway, onward.
That concerned me a little bit, but it didn't end up stinging or anything. It did make me feel funny for about a week. Just funny mentally. I felt like I had crossed some threshold. And here's a question for you. What's the definition of fingering?
Huh. Wow. So, well, first of all, it made her feel funny for like a week, she said. That's interesting. I do remember feeling like I'd crossed some sort of threshold because all you have is a million mental images and ideas and GIFs, I guess, or GIFs, those little like video images that they have now. But back in the time, we used to call them memories. It was like a or ideas. It was like a quick idea you had in your head of something. And those are kind of like the gifts that we have now, I feel like. You know, you'd have like this quick idea of maybe what a crotch was like, or what, you know, but the fact that it was salty, but then once you found out what a crotch was like, I lost my train of thought. Once you found out what a crotch was like, you knew. You had this knowledge then. You had this, you know, you'd opened up this universe, you know. It's like you'd gotten like a special warp zone or a special sword on Zelda or something. Anyway, let's go back to Robin's call. Thank you for the call, Robin.
Fingering. Is fingering when you put your finger in the vagina, is that technically the definition? Is that also third base? Or is fingering just touching and feeling around on the vagina?
You know, I think fingering is yes, you got to go fingers in. You know, you got to be checking levels there. You got to be Mark Twaining. For anybody that knows anything about sea depth or river depth, you got to be, you know, you got to be really digiting, getting a little bit of a stenographer's practice, if you will. Yeah, I think it's got to be fingers in. And does it have to be one finger or two fingers? I guess it just has to be one. You know, two fingers is always crazy too. Like, I remember there were times, you know, personally, I'd put two fingers in a woman's vagina and be like, is this okay, or am I being crazy? Like, am I a crazy guy? You know, but I do remember, Robin, that was a thing for guys. It was like, how many fingers, bro? It was like if you touch, it wasn't enough then that you had touched a vagina or that you had put a finger into a local vagina. It was that you then had to do more fingers. It was, oh, well, what about, she could take 3 fingers. Like, it became this weird, you know, other thing, this bigger thing then. It was just, it's like everything. It's like once it happens, something happens, more has to happen. You know, you need a bigger fix. But I feel like, yeah, that's third base, was fingering. And then as you grow more adult, you realize that there's more action there's more action for the female outside of the vagina. You know, inside, you're basically just looking for something that's outside. You know, it's like whenever you bring your keys out to the car and you leave, and you have them in there, but you don't realize you have them in there and you think you left them inside, then you go back inside looking for your keys. It's just like that. It's like you go back and it's like you're inside a woman feeling around trying to get her that pleasure, but really the pleasure's already outside. You passed the pleasure. You had the pleasure. You just didn't realize you had it. So that's either a great analogy or a horrible analogy. I can't even tell. It's 1:30 in the morning. But let's listen to the rest of Robin's question or call. And
is that considered third base? What's your opinion about it? Love your show. I don't think you need any guests. I really like to listen to you ramble on whatever state you're in. You are a great philosopher, and you know, dude, sometimes really funny people are just dark.
I hope she doesn't mean black. She could be a Mike Epps fan. I am a Mike Epps fan. I will say that. I appreciate the nice words, Robin. You know, I don't know. I mean, I appreciate you saying I'm really funny. I appreciate all the nice things you said. I appreciate your call. It was a cool call. Very real. You know, you shared some real thoughts there. Yeah, I don't know if comedians are just dark. People ask me that a lot. Are you just dark? I don't know. I don't know if comedians are that way. But I do know that I have some type of affliction in me where I get depressed, you know, and I battle it much better these days. You know, like this week I did make some choices. I went out. I didn't want to go to yoga, and I went. And I didn't want to go to the gym, and I went. And it made me feel better. Whereas there were times before, and I'd be like, I'm just going to lay down. I'm just going to rest. I'm just going to sleep it off. And maybe I would take some naps, but I would just set my alarm, and I'd get back up, and I made some better choices. And it was hard. It was hard. There were times where I did not want to make that choice. But yeah, I think back to your question, Robin, or back to your inquiry, it's third base. That's touch and crotch. But the weird thing is for guys, it's just the third base only goes one way. It's not like it doesn't matter what the girl does to you. The third base just only goes one way. And I remember, and I'll tell you, the first time that I touched a gal's crotch, my buddy and I had a sleepover over here out in north, like Franklinton, Louisiana. I mean, small town. I don't even know where it was. It's really just a bunch of people that are lost, and there's so many of them that they called it a town. Like, it's that rural. And we were out there on a double date, and some gal had a trailer out there, and her mother or stepmother, I don't know if she had a mother or father, but she might have had a stepmother, was out of town. Somebody was out of town. And we were over there, and everybody was touching crotch, And the girl I was with, though, was doing, she had menstrual activities going on, so I couldn't be a part of it. I could just be the outside, just around her legs and crotch, just touching that heat. But even that was huge, just even feeling on that area of a body and realizing that there was no cock right there, Because I was just used to my own area, where if I put my hands between my legs, cock. I find cock right there. But if it's a girl, no cock. And that alone was a big enough change. I mean, I was just erect as just as a bird beak. I was hard as a damn cement bird beak. And that was exciting. I remember that. And then I remember we went to a dance. I think I've told this story before, and this is a little profane, but I'm going to be real. Robin called in, and she was real. And we'd had a school dance, and a buddy of mine had touched some crotch. He'd finally, gotten a third base. He was damn Ricky Henderson that night. And he slid in a third base, and the gal left, and we were all fired up, and because one of us had finally gotten, he was damn Neil Armstrong to us. One of us had finally gotten to the moon, And so he's got his, he's out there, he's got his fingers out, and my buddy's dad came out. We're sitting around the fire, and me, being an instigator, I told my buddy's dad what had happened. I just wanted everybody to be a part of what was going on. And my buddy's dad started smelling my buddy's fingers. We're in 7th or 8th grade, no older. And my buddy's dad just started smelling my buddy's fingers over and over again. And that was pretty baffling. And he really kind of smelled them all up. Like, I remember at a certain point later, we tried to smell them, and there was no smell left on them. And I know that's dirty, and I know that's profane, but we are, we're animals in a lot of ways. We are fancy, fancy animals. And I don't really believe that, I don't think. But I do believe that, we have some of the same likenesses as animals. And so that's why we wanted to smell. It's just one of the things. You want to get that scent. You want to know what's going on. You're so curious. You're so curious. But then later, I remember sleeping at my buddy's house, and I looked out the window, and his dad was out there still by that fire, and his dad was masturbating out into that fire. So that was pretty intense. But onward, let's take another call here. And we got another call. This man calling in with some crotch from Texas.
Hey, Theo, it's Michael from Patterson, California. If you don't know where that is, it's centrally located.
Okay, not Texas. Onward.
In the state, but anyway, I was calling in to tell you about my first time I touched a lady part. I was 18. I guess that's a late bloomer, you could say, but
I don't know if it's a late bloomer. It isn't. It's when you bloom, brother. I'm still late blooming on stuff. I can barely use a calculator. So, onward.
Anyway, it was this girl I knew from high school. She was a year younger than me, and we went to a party one night. Not together. She was there, and well.
Dude, I miss high school parties, dude. Dude, if I could go back to high school now, and obviously not be an adult because I don't want to be some kind of pedophile, but be like a high school kid, it was so easy to hook up with chicks. You just had no idea. That was the problem. You had no idea. You just couldn't see that the look in most girls' eyes was that they were curious. We were just so scared as young boys, I felt like. Anyway, onward.
Long story short, I left the party a little early. Well, after dropping my buddy off, I was on my way back to my parents' house, almost there, and I get a text message, and she says, "Why'd you leave so early? I was looking forward to hanging out with you." Well, I don't really remember. This was over 10 years ago, so I don't really remember what we said, but
So she wanted you to come back to the party. Okay, onward.
parked out by the road. This was out in the country, out in the boonies, and she met me out by the road, and well, one thing led to another. I popped down the tailgate to my 94 Chevy Silverado.
Oh, God, this is beautiful, dude. Onward.
Put her on the back and started making out. And I went for it.
I can't get too fired up because they're only 18. You know, I guess they're legal. I can listen. Go on.
Without getting too graphic, I mean, I unbuttoned her pants, zipped them down, didn't take her pants all the way off.
Yeah, you don't take her pants all the way off if you're going to finger her, bro, because that's creepy as fuck, dude. Okay? If you're the kind, that's like the dude who pulls his pants all the way down in the bathroom to urinate. You ever seen that boy when you were growing up? They had always some creepy fucking pale-ass kid or some big black kid would have their pants all the way down to their feet, and they're just peeing? What the fuck? Anyway, let's hear more.
But I put my hand down there and slipped a finger in her, and the first thing...
Ooh, slipped a finger in her. You heard him? Ooh, whoa. Onward.
The first time slipping a finger in a girl, first thing I thought was, God damn, this is the wettest thing. I wasn't expecting it to be so wet. I mean, it was like a slip and slide. I couldn't believe how wet it was. I mean, that was the only thing that was going through my mind the whole time.
Damn, bro. I'm just... Wow, you must have grown up in a really dry county then. Or anyway, onward, dude. That humidity, bruh. Ah!
But anyway, so...
I'm going to say, it was damp, bro. I remember being like, whoa, this thing has had its thirst quenched. I do remember that, just being shocked, like, what is going on? They're hiding water around here, you know? Yeah, I do remember that, dude. I do remember that. And you still catch it occasionally with some older gals, but some of them now, it's like, some of it's like kind of shuffling a little bit of a deck of cards there on the outside and get a little, what do I want to say? You can get a little velvety on the outside. Anyway, onward.
I mean, the first time you did it, were you surprised about how wet it was? I mean, it was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. But
damn, unbelievable. You know what? I think I was, man. I think I was, you know? I think I was just... I remembered as being so erect, I thought I was going to faint. Like, so much... Because I have, like, a wide penis, and so much blood ran to my penis that I always get a little bit faint whenever I get really erect. So that's, like, an issue that I've had. Kind of like one of those... you ever see those goats that get that faint when they get scared? Kind of like that. I feel like I'm kind of like that sometimes with sex. Onward.
But, anyway, that ended up leading to my first blowjob. Same gal, but that's a different story for another time. But anyway, and one last thing, one thing I didn't like heading back home was, some people call it stink finger. My fingers didn't really smell. And I was kind of bummed out. That was the only thing I was bummed out about. They didn't smell, and to be honest, I wanted to smell my fingers and go home and jerk off, but...
Damn, bro. You know what? I gotta say this, man. Thank you for calling. You know? Because you know what? People could say, oh, that's gross, that's nasty. You could say anything you want about this fella's call right here. But the truth is that this is what a lot of guys thought. These are thoughts that a lot of guys have. And Robin's call was unique because it was something that girls have. It's that side of the story from them. I don't get that side of the story. I don't know. Fascinated by both of these calls. Fascinated by the nostalgia of this second call. And let me get his name again right here so I don't forget.
Hey, Theo, it's Michael from Patterson, California.
Michael. Yeah, Michael. Just fascinating because, yeah, you gotta, I think that's called like a golden warlord or something if you don't get a scent on your finger from a woman, or a woman that doesn't have a scent in her crotch. It's called like a golden warlord, or like I don't know what it's called, just like a damn, I mean, it's definitely, that's more bottled water than, sometimes you get the gals a little tap, you get more tap water out of them, but that's beautiful, man. It's a beautiful story, and it just, I just love the fact that you pulled her pants down, dude. That's fucking what? Crazy, bro. Love it. Michael, you're my hero this week, dude. You just reminded me of what, of a time in my life, of being just around that cooter and just being unaware of what another person's crotch was like, and just having just uncertainty and just that magic that was out in the universe. And that's one thing that happens as we get older. Like, we forget that we get used to things, It's crazy. When you think about how insane you were about touching a crotch of somebody else, and then how now that's not, it's still an issue, but it's not as much as it used to be. Baffling amount of difference. Thank you so much for that call, man, just to take me down memory lane. I can't even remember if you had a question for me. I don't even know if that was in there. I'll listen back later if so and get back to you, but just fascinating, man. Just fascinating to go back to those days and just that heat. It was like just that body heat coming off just that area of a woman was just fascinating. And I remember one time getting down there and I couldn't tell what was going on. I thought this one girl didn't even have a vagina. I thought she just had a bunch of crazy, skin activity. God, I remember that. Just like, what is going on? Where is this? Very scary and very exciting. Very fun being young, man. Let's take one more call, man. We're going to switch gears here. And this one is from Walnut Creek, California. Let's go.
Hey, what's up, Theo? My name's Miles, and I was just kind of wondering on how you stay sober.
And man, actually, I know I have some other calls I want to get to more, but I'll try to do some this week. I had a call coming in about sobriety that I do want to answer. But this is already going to be a long episode. And so I just want to take a moment just to say thank you guys so much for being a part of the show, for calling in. We'll field whatever calls this week. I might put into the Thursday episode some ideas for coming up for other calls we can get. I already have people that have left some voicemails about the future and questions, and eventually we'll get it to call in where people can call in and we can talk live, even though I don't even know if I could have dealt live today with these calls today about the crotches. Very fascinating, man. Very fascinating. And I just want to thank you guys so much, man. I love you and I appreciate you. And yeah, and I got some really nice calls and voicemails, and I really, really appreciate it. And I'm going to get to some of these questions. This one kid called about some sobriety stuff, and I really want to get to it, and I will get to it. So hold on, buddy. I promise that I'll get to it and get it out this week, because I want to share with you whatever I can, Fuck, do I need to get to it right now? Let me get to it right now, because I'm going to feel bad if I don't, if I let this go. Let's get it. This is, this call, it's changing the scope. We've had it's been, whatever. Let's get to it. Here we go. This is from Walnut Creek, California.
Hey, what's up, Theo? My name's Miles, and I was just kind of wondering on how you stay sober, because I've been taking some pills here and there, and it's really fun, but it's I feel like it's just sort of time to quit. So I was just sort of wondering advice on how to deal, I guess, with being sober, because to be honest, it's really boring. Oh my God, spending whole days. The day seems like 2 days in one now. now that I've been sober for a week. And I was just wondering.
That's funny, man. He said being sober is boring. It's I mean, it's sad. That's sad and perfect and everything. Because it is kind of boring, man. It's boring until you're able to start dealing with some of your feelings and what's going on and whatever made you start to, overtreat yourself with medication. Then it gets interesting, dude. It gets interesting, man. When feelings start coming back and you start having feelings, man, like when I'm talking about my mom earlier and I get like teared up, like that didn't used to happen to me, man. Like I wasn't able to access those feelings, dude. When I see like, one of my friends posted a picture of her and her baby. She has a new baby. And I remember like a couple years ago, like telling her like, I almost was going to like, we were almost deciding that we were going to have a baby together, even though like we weren't in love or anything. We just were maybe going to have a baby just because she's getting a little older and we've always been friends and we both wanted I thought she'd make a great mother because she's always been like a great friend. And she has a baby now, dude. And I saw a picture of her, her first Mother's Day or something today. Shit teared me up, dude. So you'll have real feelings, man. That's one thing. That can be exciting, bro. I know it sounds crazy and probably gay as, but it's exciting, bro. But what was your question? How do I stay sober?
I was just wondering, like, I guess how you deal with it. And I don't know if you've ever, taken pills or anything like that. But, yeah, I was just wondering your advice. I like the show and actually just got your album, so keep it up, man.
Wow, man. Thank you for the support. Let me catch your name again. I'm sorry.
Hey, what's up, Theo? My name's Miles.
Miles. Thanks for the support, Miles. I do appreciate it. How do I stay sober, dude? Well, I just decided that I'm not going to drink or use, and I didn't decide that I'm going to do it for the rest of my life because that's a huge undertaking. And I can't do anything for the rest of my life. I can't. First of all, I don't know what the rest of my life's going to be, but I know that I cannot drink or use for today. I know that. And look, a lot of you guys out there are like, well, dude, I drink, I use, that's fine. I have no issue. If you can drink and you can party and you can have a good time and you can live your life and your life's fun and comfortable, that's great. I might be able to do that one day. I don't know. But I do know that for right now, I'm not in that position. So how do I stay sober, man? I listen to people that are more sober than I am. And I try and figure out what my feelings are, because I didn't want to have any feelings. And I'm sure that's why you take pills, dude. Pills, bro. I remember one time I took a pill. Next thing I knew, it was Thursday, bro. And I think when I started, it was Friday. So it was like a long pill, dude. Yeah, I remember one time some dude gave me some somas. This fellow that was homosexual, and he ended up dying. He drove I think a Chevy Cavalier into a cement embankment. And he was a boxer. He was a homosexual prize fighter. But he might have even tried to blow me one time when I was on somas. I don't even remember. So are pills fun? I don't know. I mean, it was definitely fun not having any feelings and like just spitting up on my shirt all night. It was kind of cool. It was like being in the hospital, but I was just in the back of a Chevrolet Blazer. But overall, long term, is it fun? I just don't think it's good. Because I just would love for you to take a chance and see what you're really like if you don't use pills. Just take a chance. Look, dude, if you don't like who you are when you don't use pills, go back to them, bro. But at least give yourself a shot to see who you are. You're out here, if you got issues, man, look, clean them up. You'll be able to clean them up when you're sober. I promise you. It's going to take some time. It's going to be a pain in the ass. You have to sit and think and write and listen to other people. Probably going to have to cry and listen to some fucking dudes talk in group settings and stuff where you're like, dude, shut the fuck up. But you'll get better. It gets better. I promise you that. And it's fascinating. And it's the ballsiest thing you could do. You want to take a pill? Take a pill of fucking sobriety, bro. Take a pill of, you know what? Whatever life throws at me today, I'm going to look it in the fucking face. You know? Take that pill. That's a pill, bro. You want a pill? You want to ride? You want to ride? Try feeling everything. Try having conversations with people when shit's uncomfortable and you can't resort to anything else. And you have to just tell them how you really feel. Try that. That's a pill, bro. That's a pill, man. But I'm here for you, Miles. If you need me, you can leave another voicemail, a private one on here that I won't use on the episode. And but I don't know how I stay sober, man. You know, I invite a higher power into my life, even though I struggle with that every day. And I don't try to stay sober forever. I'm just trying to stay sober for tomorrow, you know. But it's amazing. I started this podcast in sobriety. Dude, if I was still partying, I don't think I would have been able to do it. I don't know, but I don't think so. And I also don't want to pigeonhole myself, and I don't want to tell you that you need it forever. I don't want to tell you any of those things. I don't want to tell you that AA is a be-all, cure-all, end-all. Because if I'm not sober forever, then people are going to be like, well, it didn't work for him. I don't want to tell you any of that, man. I just want to tell you that I think it's worth a try, you know? And I think it's worth the same amount of effort you put into getting pills or using pills. Just at least give it that same amount of effort. See how it works, you know? It might work well. But I love you, Miles, man. And you know, it sounds like you want to at least try to get, I don't know, better, but you want to try to get different. So just try to get different, man. See how different works. Thank you for calling, bro. I really do appreciate it. And happy Mother's Day to all the mothers, man. I'm going to take us out of here, man. It's getting late. God, it's so late. This is going to be up late, guys. It's going to be up late because it's already 2 a.m. here. It's 5 a.m. East Coast. It's not going to be there for people on their drive to work. So I'm sorry about that. It's going to take a couple hours to edit. All right, man. But I'm going to take you out here, man. It's been a beautiful time chatting. I hope so. Thank you to our callers. Hit the hotline. You know what it is. Check out my tour dates at theovon.com/tour. And just tell somebody you love them today. Call your mother again today and tell her that you love her. How about that, huh? How about just calling your mother again today and just letting her know you love her? Just let her, hey, Mom, I love you just as much today. I just want to let you know that. I know Mother's Day was yesterday, but there's going to come a day when I might not be able to tell you how much I love you. So today's not that day, and today I'm going to let you know how much I care. Man, we get so caught up, dude. Man, we get so caught up talking to other people. It's hard. It's hard sometimes to listen to our mothers, but I don't know, man. I don't know. And maybe some of you guys don't have the best relationship with your mother, and I'm not trying to make you feel bad or, but I don't either. Sometimes it's hard when my mother says stuff, I don't feel it. But to keep trying, man. We keep trying. So that's all we can do. Just keep trying, man. And love yourself today. And if you don't have a mother, bro, I'll put on a wig and I'll hug you, dude. How about that, dude? We just got to keep it all about, first base only, and that's only on the cheek, That's my motherhood for you. But thank you guys for listening to this past week, and I'll see you guys next time. Be good to yourselves, man. You probably deserve it.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Jonathan Kite, and welcome to Kite Club, a podcast where I'll be sharing thoughts on things like current events, stand-up stories, and 7 ways to pleasure your partner. The answer may shock you. Sometimes I'll interview my friends. Sometimes I won't. And as always, I'll be joined by the voices in my head.
You have 3 new voice messages.
A lot of people are talking about Kite Club. I've been talking about Kite Club for so long, longer than anybody else. So great. Hey, sweetheart, here's a deal. Anyone who doesn't listen to Kite Club is a dodgy bloody wanker. Do you know what I mean?
Hi, I'll take a quarter pounder with cheese and a McFlurry.
Sorry, sir, but our ice cream machine is broken.
Oh, no!
I think Tom Hanks just butt dialed me. Anyway, first rule of Kite Club is tell everyone about Kite Club. Second rule of Kite Club is tell everyone about Kite Club. Third rule, like and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts or watch us on YouTube, yeah? And yes, don't worry, my Brad Pitt impression will get better.
Happy Monday, you little nickel-plated nutsacks. It's about that time again. You've been eating cat cocks all weekend, huh? You've been cracking open a crusted can of cat cocks? Well, meow. It's your boy, about to Sherpa you up this mad mountain of Mondayness. You guys ready? Do you think I have Michael Landon on my shirt? Well, oh. Welcome to This Past Weekend. This past weekend. Sounds like the kind of sound that, like, when everything's going, like in the movie, like when the couple is, you know, they're out and finally everything's going great. It's like the third date and it's just a montage and they're dancing and like spinning each other around in the rain and like, listen. We got the third date in the books and now we're bowling and kissing and, you know, trying on our bowling shoes and laughing and like punching each other softly, soft punches and doing stuff like that, you know? Or if you take maybe two squirrels, I don't know if you ever spent any time around squirrels, they're basically a very short ferret, but with a tail on it, kind of. And they're exciting animals. They're animals that are, I don't want to say they're beautiful animals, but I think I'll sit and talk with you about them all day. They are a very enticing species, the squirrel. But yeah, this seemed like if a couple of them were just kind of in the trees going nuts. Listen. Just kind of running around and like grabbing like acorns and peeking out from behind the other tree and like scurrying up the branches. There you go. It's a little bit of Cambridge twang. That's the song right there. And we are here with you. And this is Monday, June 5th. And welcome to This Past Weekend. I appreciate you guys joining us today. But you already knew that. I have a feeling that you already knew that because I let you know all the time. I'm coming to you live for me for now on this Mondays of June. And that means summertime is coming right around the corner. The solstice is coming up. I believe that's June 21st or 22nd. And that should be is that the longest day of the year? Yeah. So if you got, if you got a friend that talks a lot, I wouldn't hang out with them on that day because you're liable to be out there, out and about, having to listen to them a little bit longer than usual. So I'd, spend that day with people who don't talk too much and who are, just who you like to have fun with. You don't have to really listen very much, as much or more than you should. I'm in Pittsburgh, coming to you live from a Courtyard Marriott, very basic. You could call it a hotel. It's kind of a motel to me. There's a kind of a very girthy sort of Indian or Middle Eastern man downstairs who I'm going to go out on a limb and say this fella wants to do sex with me. He keeps baiting me downstairs, saying that the printer is fixed, and it's broken. And then he's like, oh, whatever. He's British as well. And he's like, oh, whatever am I to do? I'm just jeepers creepers. And the night shift, the people that work the night shift at hotels, man, I mean, they're either cool as fuck or they are fucked up. Because I have seen both types, man. I have seen both types, dude. One guy took me back in this baggage room where they kept a bunch of baggage one time, and he had a German Shepherd back there giving babies. Birth. Whelping, they call it when they're giving birth like that. This German Shepherd back there giving birth to baby animals. Little baby German Shepherds, you know that. So I just don't know what the fuck is going on, honestly, at some of these places. And I'm sorry to get fired up out of the gate and use this language, but, you know, I've been out here in Pittsburgh for 4 nights. Good city, but I'm on the outskirts. You know, I'm out here at one of these malls, and this is the kind of times when, in a comedian's life, dude, it's not great. It's not great. I want to go home. I'm tired. But with that said, I had some joy this weekend. You can look on the YouTubes. If you're on the YouTubes, I got a gentleman that makes some of my shirts. This gentleman, Kevin Best, and he showed up and made me some beautiful shirts, man. So that's really, really cool. And this one is of Michael Landon, who, you know, I've always thought of as like a television prophet actor, you know, who really kind of led or tried to help lead everybody in a positive direction before he died of cancer, and cancer got him. Dude, I'm starting to wonder, like, what diseases are we going to have from this technology we have right now, you know? Like, we don't know anybody who has hit 65 years old and who's been on a phone, on a cell phone for 40 years. We don't know the effects. We don't know the effects of a lot of the medicines that we're on right now. I mean, what if at, 70 years old, somebody who's been using a cell phone for 30 years, what if their fucking eyeballs fall out of their head? Huh? What if that's one of the afflictions? And then you got a bunch of people running around with no eyes or walking slowly and being angry at Verizon, but still addicted to their phones. How crazy is that going to look when you have a guy with no eyes in his head, and you're like, what happened to you? And he says, sorry, I can't talk right now. I'm on the phone. Even though it's the phone that did it to him. That's where we're headed, guys. We got some great callers that called in about, one I'm going to leave us with today. A caller called a few weeks ago about the future, and I'm going to leave us with that one at the end of the lineup today so you can see what you think. He had a good point, a good topic that I want to lead us into, and we can talk about that. But first, I want to tell you about here in Pittsburgh, man. I'm here. It's been a good time. Pittsburgh Improv. Had some nice people came out. The Neon Nightingale, he came out. You guys remember him from some of the previous episodes, and that was pretty sweet having him out and about. Got to meet him and his lovely lady. And they got a child that they left somewhere at home under the care of someone else. So that's the proper way to do it. But I've been in Pittsburgh all weekend. It rained today. That's about the most exciting thing that kind of happened to me. Spent time with my buddy's family. What else? I had a lot of lovely fans that came out, man. Lovely fans and friends. I'm going to tell you where I'm going up soon, and then we'll get into the news, and then we're going to hit into some calls and emails from people, from listeners, that we're going to offer some basic life suggestions, people that hit the hotline. I'm going to give you that hotline number right now, 985-664-9503. And the cities I'm hitting soon, Nashville, Las Vegas, Orlando, Calusa Casino in north of Sacramento, New York City, Stark County, Illinois. So those places are going to be coming up, as well as Addison, Texas. That's in Dallas, or outside of Dallas, that second week of August. But all those other cities are before the end of July. You can find them at theovon.com/tour, TOUR. As well, I got the new album that's out now, Musket Fire, The Early Years of Satire. and 30-pound bag of hamster bones. Both those are available right now. Check the tracks and make sure that you don't already own the album, though. I'm happy to be here with you guys, man. I'm happy to be here with you guys. Bill Cosby case is starting today. You may know that, you may not. To me, I think that Bill Cosby is guilty. Do I think he's guilty of copulating with however many those women are? I don't. I don't think he's guilty of all of them. Just based on my experience in L.A., I easily see how when one woman sees that something's going on, others will jump on. And it's not just a woman, people. They're doling out money over here. Let me jump in. There's a lot of hot ass out there in Los Angeles. A lot of gold digging, trifling women out there just trying to make a buck. I'm not even talking feminists. These aren't feminists. These are Rottweilers, okay? These are them cooter Rottweilers, and they're just barking around with that crotch and trying to get that money, stack that paper, But I don't think that Bill Cosby will be convicted. I think he might be convicted of some civil charges, but I think he'll be the O.J. Simpson of vagina, and that's my theory. There you go. There you have it. I believe that. I think he'll get off. And I think he'll be the O.J. Simpson of Poise. Onward. More news. Kathy Griffin, everybody knows this, the bloody head she held up. I'm going to say this. And some people think like by even talking about it, you're creating publicity for her. I'm not creating publicity for Kathy Griffin. She's the only comedian that I've ever gone to their show, a full hour, and I didn't laugh. That's a true story. This is about 7 years ago I went, or 8, could have been 8 years ago. I didn't laugh at all. She's not for me, her type of comedy. I get it. But I thought that this was just hack. I thought it was just, you're holding up a bloody head of the president. Get a life. You've made your money in this country, and show some gratitude. You don't have to show it to Donald Trump, but show it to the fact that that's the president for right now. That's who the president is. And I don't care who it is. I think that as an American, you have some responsibility to at least just go along with it. And I just think she could have come up with something much better or funnier. To me, she's not funny. And to me, I just thought that was un-American. That's kind of the feeling that it left me with. And I'm kind of just sick of all the Trump. I think the Trump jokes are just hack. It's like, we get it. Like, you don't like him. Okay, great. I voted for Obama twice. I wasn't a huge Obama fan. But I was inspired by what he was talking about. I think Obama did some good. I think he was a great example. I also think Obama was kind of a pussy when it came to a lot of stuff, to be honest. Sorry to use that language. I felt like he didn't really have any balls, I don't think he did a lot to inspire Black America. For me, that's just my perspective. You're like, well, Theo, you're not Black. You're right. I'm not. But I can still have a point of view. A lot of my Black friends have felt the same way. I think he's a great speaker. I think he's a great orator. I think he sounded amazing, no doubt. He looked good in pictures. Beautiful family, beautiful daughters. Probably a great hoopster. But to me, he was all talk. He was more of a celebrity than he was a man. I would look at him as more of a celebrity than I would as a man. So I don't know, the Kathy Griffin thing, I just didn't laugh, It wasn't funny to me. I think she's more of a loudmouth. And maybe she was a comedian at a time, but I've never seen her in a comedy club. Never seen her in any comedy club anywhere, except for the one time I went and saw her at a theater. And part of that's, I'm just sick of the un-American attitude. Like people saying that, oh, this country doesn't represent me and stuff like that. Like, maybe I'm old fashioned or something, but like, I feel, hold on, the air conditioner just came on. I got to shut it off. All right, I'm back. But I feel like if you live in the country, you cash your checks here, then have some gratitude, Have some freaking gratitude, If you don't like what's going on, then find some ways to change it. Be part of the solution, Shut the fuck up and contribute, all right? You don't have to make it you're not going to make it better by acting like you're not part of this country. If you don't want to be part of the country, then go. Go out for a few years and come back. Nobody's doing that. You see what I'm saying? Everybody's anti-America, but they're not leaving here. So it just kind of makes me upset, you know? And you can say, well, Theo, you're naive. You know, you still believe in some type of an American ideal or American dream. You know, I don't know how clearly I feel on some of that. But I do feel like we're fortunate enough to live here. We're blessed to live in this country. We should act like it. We should act like it, you know? And if something we don't like, find a more constructive way than just by sheer hatred, you know? I just don't get it. Bill Maher dropped the N-word. That's a little more news there. I thought with Bill Maher, in comparison to Kathy Griffin, at least Bill Maher, that's him. You know who he is. You know, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I don't live in a world where I know personally hundreds of people who you would think never use the N-word, who I hear use it. I'm not going to sit in a world and pretend that that's the case. People use it a lot, you know. They don't use ER, but I hear NIGGA all the time. And I don't condone it. I don't think it helps. I do think it's a derogatory word, right? But I believe that it's going to take time for us to get it out of the vocabulary of humanity. And I think that today more kids learn it today from music than they do from racist channels or influences. How do we defeat it? For me, I think that you take it out of music and you let time pass. You just need time. But also, that's just my thoughts on it. Some people are like, you're white, you don't get to comment on it. And that's understandable. If somebody takes that stance, I might maybe almost agree with them, you know. That's a weird ground. But I think with Bill Maher, you just know who he is. That's who he is. He's the kind of guy who drops a wild joke like that, who is not afraid to use a word like that. I'm not surprised. I mean, Bill Maher he's spicy, he's derogatory, he's always misogynistic. I think in a way he's kind of like a Trump in a way, you know? And I'm not saying that he's a horrible person. I don't know the man. But I'm saying that I feel like at least you get who he is. You're not shocked. I don't know who was super shocked by that. Like, I know people on Twitter get angry, but Twitter angriness to me, not even real. Twangry. If you're twangry, that's not real. That's fake. If you just sit there and tweet something and then do nothing about it or have no, it's just, to me, it seems really, really fake. But as compared to Kathy Griffin, you have no idea who she is. You just think, oh, she's just this Muppet trying to make some weird splash, and it didn't go well, and then she's blaming white people, and just give it up. You seem to have led a pretty privileged life, and she just seems to have no gratitude for that, and that just pissed me off. And you don't have any idea who Kathy Griffin is. She's this snarky kind of early Perez Hilton sort of. She was kind of like a human TMZ that just told these weird behind-the-scenes stories about celebrities that I never thought were super funny. And then she just kowtowed to the gay community for her fanship. But Bill Maher, I mean, that's who he is. You know, at least you're like, oh, that's exactly who he is. Kathy Griffin, you're like, what the fuck is this? This lady's out of her mind. Anyway, so those are some of my thoughts on the news. What else is going on? I mean, they had the tragedy over there in England. I don't know what to think about that kind of stuff, you know? I mean, it's crazy to think that you want our military to get involved in things because it's just kind of scary, you know? But yeah, I mean, I just, you know, my thoughts and prayers are really with those people who, you know, are dealing with their children and having to deal with that. And I like thoughts and prayers. Some people don't like them. I mean, to me, all a thought or a prayer is, it's hope. It's a moment of meditation. It's a moment of you trying to express good energy towards people that need it. And to me, there's a ton of value in that. People are always like, thoughts and prayers don't solve anything. I disagree. You know, surely they're not going to make you a sandwich. You know, if you're thinking and praying for bologna and cheese to meet in your kitchen, you're dead wrong. But if you're thinking and praying that the hearts of someone who's hurting could find more comfort, I think that things like that can really occur. So I believe in some of those things. We got the hotline, man. I'm going to get right into it because it's late, bro. It's late for me. And I don't want to live like this, dude. I don't want to live up this late. I just want to get some rest. To be honest, I got a flight in 4 hours and 50 minutes. I'm flying out of Pittsburgh. So let's get it in. I'll say this on the hotline, that number again, 985-664-9503. The first one, we got a message that came in. This was a text, and then we'll get to some calls. Theo, Austin here, texting in from the University of Central Missouri. Your last podcast, you said you attended 6 different universities. Next year, I graduate and start the process of paying off my student loans, and was wondering how you handled all your debt, if you had any, and any advice as I jump into the real world with loads of debt. Thank you. You're the mother effing man. Here's what I say about student loans, young buck. Austin, named after a city. I've always wanted to have a daughter named Chicago. I thought that'd be a neat name. Or maybe a son named St. Petersburg. But here's what I want to say about student loans, dude. Don't worry about that. That's my thought on it. I mean, because you can get your student loans down to where you're paying like a little bit of money basically over the rest of your life. You know, I've been out of school for 15 years. I refinanced them here and there. I basically have paid. There were times where I didn't have to pay anything, where they gave me some, a period of grace period. But otherwise, I probably paid $100 a month for about 15 years. But you know what? Don't worry about that shit, dude. Because if you worry about small stuff, then you live small. That's one thing I've noticed. If I could go back in time, if you worry small, you live small. You worried about all that small shit, dude, if you're worried about that small shit, you will never make a stink, man. That's what I'm going to tell you. You got to worry big, dude. You know? I mean, think about this. You might get in with a company in 5 years and not have to even pay your student loans. Some companies, when you come to work for them, part of the contract is they pay off your student loans. I mean, there are real possibilities like that in your future. So for you sitting there worrying about that $100 a month, I promise you will be okay. That doesn't mean go out and drink every night and not take care of yourself and not have a job, but find employment and worry big, you know. I'd worry about how am I going to own a rental property in 5 years. That's a bigger goal, man. I'd take on a bigger goal like that. Set a goal like that instead of these. If you're worrying down here, you're living down here. If you're worrying up here, you're living up here. So I'd get up there, man. That's what I'd say. You know, don't look at it as, oh, I owe $150,000. That's huge. That's crazy. Look at it as, oh, I owe $100 a month because I borrowed an education and I got to pay it back. Don't waste the education, man. Just get out there. Stay busy. Stay busy. A man should always be working. I used to live with a friend of mine, and his dad told me that. It's one thing he told me. He said a man should always be working. I mean every day, but I mean you should have a job. Good luck out there, Austin. All right, let's get to a call here. Let's see what we got.
Hey, Theo. This is Alex in Atlanta. Just giving you a call. Love the podcast. I wanted to get your advice on a roommate situation I have.
This is Alex in Atlanta calling about a roommate situation he has.
I live with a good friend, recently moved in with him, but I'm having trouble sort of adapting back to having a roommate. He's sort of a kid who comes from money and seems to never really have had any responsibility in his life. I'm quite the opposite.
Okay, so he moved back in with a roommate. It sounds like he didn't have a roommate, and now he's moved back in with the roommate. He's having trouble adjusting to that, and the roommate is maybe more of a silver spoon type of boy. Like he's had types of things given to him onward.
Got a full-time job, since I've been in high school and worked for all my bills, and I've just it's kind of been a struggle for me, sort of not kind of being an asshole to him and coming off as a prick of a roommate. But it's just one of those things where, he sleeps all day, the few responsibilities I give him to benefit the two of us.
Oh, wow. So he's saying that, it's hard for him not to be a prick to his roommate. But then you say, Alex, I think it was Alex, you said the few responsibilities you give him. So it seems like your take on this, it seemed like you're having trouble adapting to being in a roommate situation, dude. Because if you're giving this dude, if you're like giving demands out of him, it sounds like you're not going to, some of those things you're not going to get, I mean, if you're expecting him to do all these things and expecting him to live a certain way, he's an adult too, he might be set in his ways. It sounds like you're more angry that you have to now live with someone, to me. Here, let's hear the end of this real quick.
Two of us as roommates, he just, takes forever to do anything and just never really gets anything done. But just, wanted to get your advice on that. I appreciate it. Love your podcast.
All right, man. Thank you so much for calling in about it. So you got the new roommate. Here's what I think, man. I think I don't know if you're ever going to be happy with him. If you started out in this vibe where he doesn't contribute enough, or the few responsibilities you give him, he doesn't get done, you're going to have to find a way to get out of that whole mindset. Otherwise, you're going to drive yourself miserable, because it sounds like he's living it up, he's comfortable in enough situation. He's got a roommate. He's resting. His parents are taking care of things. That's going to be his life for now, And if you guys are arguing, then it's only going to make things even worse. So you don't want to get into an argumentative state, man. Maybe if he doesn't want to contribute and there are things he has to do, maybe see if he'd be willing to put in with to a cleaner, like a house cleaner that comes once a week. That way he can get whatever his responsibilities are done, make his responsibility some of the cleaning, and then he can pay to have them done. So that way it takes it off of his chest. But you can't feel bad if he's not physically doing those things. You can expect them out of him, but at a certain point, if he's not doing them, he's not doing them. And that's just sometimes how roommates are. When I think of roommates, I think of two people arguing over dishes. That's what I think of. And somebody else ends up writing their name on the damn spaghetti sauce. And then, we had a guy who jumped out of his own window, tried to kill himself when he was on drugs or something, but he was only on the first floor. So he ended up just breaking his window and damaging a set of Venetian blinds. But he was an idiot, but he tried to kill it. He tried to, we had roommate wars and all that shit and people losing their mind. Things can happen with your roommates where you can be fun. You want to be in a fun environment. I remember one time, eating some drugs or something and being on LSD and cooking a pizza in the dryer. And I'll tell you this, it takes 4 hours for a medium to be edible. And that's one thing I learned by having fun with my roommates. We used to get drunk and my roommate would let me lay on the hood of his car and he would drive me all around town. Back when you could be young and fun. Not now. But I think you need to quit expecting him. You sound like a parent. It almost sounded like a parent calling in. So you're going to have to just find a way to get in a better mind space. Here's what I would do. I would maybe sit and let him know how you feel, but you can't come from a point of anger. Just say, this is what's going on. You need to take that stuff where he's silver spoon kid and all that shit out of it. That doesn't matter. That's his life, and that's your lives are different. Oh, well, that's that. But I would sit there and just let him know how you feel, that you just need some more help with things. Offer up the idea of maybe getting a maid. That way you guys aren't milling around fighting about it. And then, dude, it's going to sound crazy, bro. I'd pray for the dude. Pray for him for 2 weeks, man. And you're thinking this is some Christian ideas. No, I'm not saying that. Just 2 weeks in a row, every day, just hope the best for him. That's what you want to do. Hope the best. Man, I hope he just sleeps all day in pure comfort while I handle the chores. Because then here's what happens is, then you suddenly you are a proponent of his. So even if you have these issues, he starts to become something you're cheering for instead of something you are angry against. It sounds crazy, but it'll adjust that perspective inside of you, man. And those are just my thoughts, man. Those are things that I would do if I were in that scenario. That shit might not work out. You guys might end up, taking scissors to each other's necks, and they might be playing this call in a court case soon. Who knows, bruh? But that's what I'm sharing with you. That's my basic life suggestion for this. All right, let's crack into another one. Thank you very much for calling, too. I do want to say that. I do appreciate the calls. I know this week we'd wanted people to call in who were missing an appendage. If somebody had lost an arm or, I know a man who cut his wiener off one time when he was on drugs up there in Mississippi. And his family used to run the Ramada. And he cut off his wiener up there. And he's better now, and he dealt with all that. But I'm always real curious as to what it's like if somebody's missing an appendage and just how that feels. And, is it a constant thing where you think about it every day, or do you just get used to it? I didn't get any calls about that, I don't think. So if somebody has that and they're just afraid to share, I want you to know that I'm not trying to make fun of you, or if you have a friend that you might think could call in and tell us about that. That's what I want to know, is just some behind the scenes of not having a leg, or, just some kind of tips and hints if you don't have a leg or an arm, or if you know someone who doesn't. Have them give us a buzz. All right, let's move on to another call. Here we go. This is from abroad.
Hey, Theo. So, second time calling. I'm just watching your podcast right now. I'm just waking up. I'm actually working abroad. I work in Ukraine.
Ukraine. Now, if you're not familiar with Ukraine, that's over there near Russia, Poland. That's a wild. It's the Wild West. A lot of snowball fights. A lot of children with stone shoes, and girls carrying stone dolls around. It's a tough life over there. So thank you for calling internationally, brother. Onward.
As an English teacher.
You're an English teacher.
Anyway, just having a few issues. I'm over here by myself.
Ooh, alone in the Ukraine. Also, the Ukraine is a lot of where those movies Hostel, and those movies where kids get murdered, or not children, adults get murdered on their spring break and stuff. So that's, I guess, a popular pastime in Ukraine. Onward.
Working abroad over here. I got a girl that I'm dealing with. Been seeing her for a few months. And it's just, these girls these days, man, they don't even officially say, or you guys don't have no talks. She's already expecting me to go to, family birthdays and just stuff I'm not into. And the crazy part is this is my second time already dealing with these Ukrainian girls.
Okay, so he's having some issues here with these Ukrainian girls. They're expecting a lot out of him, and he's not having the talks. They're not, things aren't becoming clear. If it's a serious relationship or just a dating or something like that, I'm guessing. Let's listen more.
You meet them, you start hanging with them, everything's cool. You tell them you want to take it slow, you don't want nothing serious. And then all of a sudden, you're just buying birthday presents, and I don't know, man. What do you think about that? On these girls, just as soon as they get with you, they just act like your girlfriend. They don't have no discussions. And have a good one, man. Once again, long distance phone call. It's costing me money.
All right. Well, I appreciate you making that investment in this past weekend. The Ukrainian girls, man, if you calling, let's be honest, man, if you over there with the Ukrainians, a lot of them, they got a lot of, I'll tell you out the chute here, a lot of that pornography comes out of the Ukraine and, the Soviet Union, and, those girls like to get wild, real butt universe over there. But here's the thing. You said you're taking it slow. You tell these girls we're taking it slow. But even after taking it slow for a few months, that builds up speed, man. In the mind of a woman, things start to mean something to them. If you spend time. I got a gal that I'm just starting to spend some time with, and that makes me, I get nervous, I get nervous. Because for me, it's just, am I ready to be a man? Do I think I can be that, that stable? Can I be a stable man in a relationship? Am I there enough yet in my head and in my heart? Do I have enough of my things taken care of in my life to do that, to really be that man? But for you, it sounds like you just want to be casual, but these women start expecting something. And then you go into birthdays and parties and fiestas and, y'all are, you guys might be doing, you think you're just taking a walk, but then she have y'all jump into a carriage ride. And now y'all are carriage riders, or listening to somebody play the violin, or whatever they do over there in Russia, listening to somebody, softly beat their children, by candlelight, or whatever romance happens over there, just watching somebody wash their forehead with soapy water or whatever. I'm Polish, so I know, I'm Polish Nicaraguan, so I know some of, I got in my blood some of what's going on over there. I can hear it in my heartbeat sometimes, some of the trite magic that comes out of there over from the far Eastern Europe. But I'll say this, man, I think you don't want anything serious, but these girls are going to start to expect it. And one of the craziest types of women to date are Russian women or Eastern European women. You know that, bro. You know that. You have to know that. I mean, they will. I've dated one girl in LA that was a Russian girl, and then she actually went to jail for beating up her landlord, I think. I'm pretty sure. I'm like 88% sure, 7 or 75 or something percent sure. I know she was on trial for it because she tried to get me to come down to the courthouse a few times. Beautiful girl, and they all want to be Lara Croft Tomb Raider, and I don't know what happened, but they get wild. And that's why I say, it's tough to date some of those ladies because they will knuckle into you. They just have that Cold War in them. They got the dark arts. They grew up playing with stone dolls and eating wooden candy. And when you grow up with that rough of a childhood, when you finally get a little something, you get anything, even if it's somebody's feelings. Feelings are a big are a commodity there. When you live in a land that has nothing, when you live in a land that's second and third world. I mean, remember the Olympics? They said that some of the hurdles were made out of goat bones and stuff. I mean, these people were putting shit together, I remember, some of the places where Olympians were sleeping were just other people's houses. They just sent them to like a rich person's house and hoped that the rich person would let them stay. Like, that's crazy. Or it's not crazy. I mean, it's not crazy. It's one of the things that comes with a third world nation, man. So if you're over there and people don't have anything to eat, if you take a woman out on a date and the best y'all can even get is maybe a bowl of fish soup or something to share, and y'all are sharing just some salmon soup, and then the feelings that you give her, the emotions that you give her, those are going to be a big commodity. Whereas when you get over in the first world, you get over in LA or Birmingham, Alabama, or some of these fancy spots, and these women don't give a shit about the feelings, and not all of them, but when you get into these higher money areas, that's when they care about the Lamborghinis, and the Vivici dresses and the Vivaldi designer bags and all of this shit. So you're over there where a hot commodity is feelings and time. And I'm envious of you, man, because it sounds like you have an LA mindset, but you have it over there in a place where people want to be attached. And we're living here in America where I think a lot of people want a little bit more attachment. So if you don't care about her, maybe you should, then let her go if she's getting too attached, Think about it like this. Say you are allowed to fish somewhere, and they say, yeah, you can catch the fish and you can enjoy them, You could hug them by the bank and touch them if you want. You can be wild with them. And you have fun. And you tell the fish right when you catch it, I'm just going to keep you here by the bank with me, and it's just going to be fun. Then you throw the fish back in the water. What do you think that fish is honestly going to do? You've been over there snuggling with that fish and licking its sides and touching its gills, and y'all been getting to know each other for weeks. This is a fish that's been living underwater. And here it is breathing air next to another being, a human, but still another being. You think that fish is going to swim off, not care? No, it's not gonna. Especially a third world fish, man, where affection and time are commodities. So you add those things into the fact that Eastern European women are 70 or 58 or 65% psychopath, or pretty edgy, mentally edgy. Dude, that's fire right there. You are flirting with fire. So if you're over there getting your dick burnt, I'm not surprised, bud. What advice do I have for you? At a certain point, you got to commit. Otherwise, just quit. Just at a certain point, you probably have to commit, or you need to be more stern in the beginning and let them know what the scenario is. But don't get angry at them. And if they invite you to a birthday party, get a damn present, dude. You know, go out there. You might meet somebody at a birthday party. That's a special event. They got cake, and they might have camel, or not pony rides or whatever you guys have over there. Moscow mules. You could probably do anything. Who knows what they're even eating over there? A birthday, somebody probably only lives to about 11 or 12 in Ukraine. Go over there and celebrate. 15% of their life, they're inviting you. Go enjoy that. Be a part of something. So I appreciate you calling, man. And I feel you, if you don't want to be involved. But feel thankful, because they got men over here looking for some action, looking for love. And these women are offering it to you. So at least treat the women with some gratitude, enough that they care. But good luck, man. Good luck to you. And I appreciate you calling international. All right, let's get another one right here. Let's see where we're at time-wise. About 40 minutes. And thank you guys for paying attention and being involved. I'm also considering this Patreon, where we do some, maybe we do special episodes each week or something like that. But I'm considering Patreon. I'm in this motel, and I just heard my neighbor. I think they're pissed off at me. I don't blame them. I mean, I'm the dude who's chatting about, Ukrainian, dating habits through the walls at 3:19 in the morning. All right, here's another. This was a text that came in. Theo, what's up, man? This is Andrew from Iowa. Huge fan of all your stuff. I look forward to your podcast every week. So I have this situation I want to talk to you about. I've been seeing this girl. We have hooked up 4 times. Every time we end up going for it for about an hour. Wow. You ever had sex for an hour, dude? Well, that's your problem right there. If you give a woman an hour of sex, they're going to want more sex, dude. My move, give a woman 7 or 8 minutes of troublesome, awkward sex. And then they might not want it again. So you might want to consider that, just to kind of slow down the pace you're on. This is only the second girl I've had relations with. And the same thing happened the 2 times I hooked up with the first girl. So I know the answer to this is to stop jerking it. But I wanted to ask you how you get to sleep when you are abstaining from masturbation. I've gotten into the routine of jerking it and falling asleep real fast. I'm sober now, so booze is not an option. I really want to quit the masturbation so I can have better sex. Thanks, dude. Andrew, I appreciate you reaching out from Iowa. I've had some good times in Iowa. I visited the Field of Dreams there, the actual one from the movie site, from the movie filming. It's there, and it's a nice thing to see if you drive through Iowa. I also had a good chicken fried steak there. But let me answer your question. You can't finish sexually. So if you sensually, you aren't finishing, so what, bro? Huh? So what, dude? I have sex sometimes and don't finish. You're not wrong for that. You don't have to finish every time. Have you ever started playing basketball and then it rains? Guess what, dude? You didn't finish, bro. Now, if you're jerking off right before bed, and that's your issue, then the problem is you have all that energy. You need to get rid of that energy throughout the day, and you have to get out and play hoops, or get some kettlebells, or kick a ball around the yard, do soccer with the neighbor. or find some way to get that energy out of you. Go to the gym. If it's mental energy and that's what's causing you to jerk out and to skeet up, then you need to, you know what I do? Sometimes I'll watch car accidents on the internet, that'll sometimes help me tone down. I'll burn something in the bathroom sink, burn an old shoe or some piece of paper, something to get that edge off of me, something to let the devil out. Because what's happening to you is if you're feeling like you have to ejaculate to get that devil out of you. That's not true. You can get that devil out of you by some other way. You could chop a tree down. You could dig a hole in the yard, put something in there, do a time capsule. You could just go for a run. You could lift weights. But you could watch karate, watch old adult karate on the internet. They got senior citizen karate. It's exciting, but it's not too violent where it makes me scared to go to bed. But it helps take some of that nervous energy out of me, watching that attack, those attack moves. So anyhow, I hope that answers your question. But don't feel bad if you're not spraying out during sex, man. You don't have to. Okay, that's something you see in pornography. You don't have to spray out. But I commend you on being sober. And if you think it sounds like you're answering your question for you, you're answering your own question. You said, so I know the answer to this is to stop jerking it. And that's probably is the overall answer, is to take that time away. You'll be more involved and you'll actually get the release from where it's supposed to come from, another human. But if it's anxiety, if it's that devil in you, and if it's that mental nut, that when you feel that devil just gearing up in your heart and in your rectum and in your crotch, then you need to find a way to let that out. And that, I think, is doing the gym or watching car accidents online or watching adult karate or, doing ping pong. I don't do yo-yos or any of that kind of shit. That shit's boring, I think, a yo-yo. But anyhow, good luck to you, man, and best of love and luck to you out there as you backing off that skeet and focusing on having natural ejacs at the end of sex. But don't feel bad if you don't. And I appreciate you calling, man. I appreciate you sharing this, or not calling, but sharing this text with us. All right, man. Let's check in one more. Here we go. And this one, this is one that I want to leave us on here, man. This guy, he had some thoughts, dude, and I really liked them. And I want to end us on this here. Let me see if I can find this. Here we go. Right here. Let's go.
Yo, Theo, what up? My name's Ben. A white dude from the suburbs of New York City.
White dude from the suburbs of New York. You hear that? We got a newsie on the line, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for calling, Ben.
This is response to your future predictions.
And Ben's calling about the future. He called it about 2 weeks ago, I think, and we were talking about the future and things like that. And I want to get back into some of that, and I'm going to use this call to lead us there. I want to know what you guys think about what Ben says here. Here we go.
I think what's coming 10 years from now, there's going to be a big cultural meltdown, I feel, between what it means to be a man and a woman from my generation.
Okay, so Ben's saying what it means to be a man and a woman from his generation, cultural meltdown. Here we go.
Because right now, there's a whole bunch of blurred lines and all that, and it's just getting crazy right now.
A lot of blurred lines right now. I agree, or at least, yeah, I agree.
But the fact is, I saw a stat yesterday on Snapchat saying, 3 million more women are graduating from college every year than men. The result of that is going to be, major income inequality coming up. And when it comes time to raise a family and stuff, my generation's pretty lost in terms of what it means to be a man, what it means to be a woman.
So he's saying that there will be 3 million more women a year graduating college than men, into a generation where already There's a very blurred line of what it means to be a man and what it means to be a woman. This is interesting. And I looked that up, and he's right. According to different studies, there appears to be more women graduating college and enrolling in college than men. Onward.
The roles that we have to play. And I just don't think that we're ready for that, going from being completely lost of what it means to be, a man or woman, to being thrown into the hard position of being the reliant spouse.
Let's back it up for 1 second so we get all of what he said. I shouldn't have interrupted that. Here we go.
The family and stuff, my generation's pretty lost from in terms of what it means to be a man, what it means to be a woman, the roles that we have to play. And I just don't think that we're ready for that, going from being completely lost of what it means to be, a man or woman, to being thrown into the hard position of being the reliant spouse in a marriage. And I think that's going to cause major cultural turmoil, and, who knows what the result of that's going to be. 10 years from now, I think that's going to happen.
Wow. You hear that? He's saying within 10 years, the effects of that are going to be really wild. When more women are the reliant bread earners in families and in relationships and in marriages than men. And just overall, that's scary to me. It is scary. I don't think it's scary because women will be the ones making more money. It's scary because I worry about what effect that might have on a man, on the psyche of a man. Are we moving too fast for our psyches to be able to handle it? There's something intrinsic in a man where you want to be the provider, where you want to be, the one who's bringing home the ducats, stacks on stacks. And now it's going to be women. It's going to be women who are doing this in 10 years. That's what he theorizes. So I'd love to know what some of you guys' thoughts are. Do you agree on this? I'm going to put it out an episode on Thursday evening that's just about this. Like, what do you think? What do you think about what he has to say here? Do you think this is true? Do you think that's wild? Do you worry about that? In 10 years, I grew up with just a single mother. So it's like, I was used to my mother being the breadwinner. But would it have been different if I had same-age parents or similar, and then the mom is making all the money and the dad is dealing with the feelings of that? Or is that just going to be commonplace where, the fact that men feel like they need to be that is going to start to disappear, that's just an old feeling that, that we don't need to have anymore. Almost like the appendix, there's theories that at some point the appendix was necessary for man, but that now it's just this piece in your body that gets infected sometimes when you're playing Little League baseball and you have to go to the hospital immediately. So what's it going to be, man? Because that could be startling. And are these women going to want to be, are they just going to be the breadwinners and then still want to be mothers? Are they going to be, insane, aggressive feminists? One thing I notice about a lot of aggressive feminists, they're not mothers. They don't have any children. You look at a lot of these extreme pro-Hillary feminists during the election stuff. A lot of them, the celebrity ones that I see, not mothers, don't have any biological children of their own. Does that play a role? Is that where we're headed, where women don't want to be carrying babies anymore? They just want to, be breadwinners? I don't know. And what will men feel like? What are we going to feel like? When you come home, your wife's, got all the cash and you got to ask her for money. Men might just be like, this is fucking awesome. Maybe it's time for us to take that side seat and let women do it. Are we still going to feel sexually attracted to those women? Are we headed towards a gender war 200 years from now? Can Wonder Woman defeat Al Bundy from Married with Children. A lot of questions out there. But I love that. I love that final question there. And that was by...
Yo, Theo, what up? My name's Ben.
That was Ben. And that's from Mount Kisco area. And that's New York, outside of the city. And I love that. I love that he called. And I appreciate that. It's a great question, man. It's a great question, and we're going to leave it there, and that's something that you guys can call in and comment on this week. And I'm going to try to put up a special about that on Thursday. That's going to be the goal. And also we're considering Patreon, where we do something special for listeners each month. It's kind of a subscription-based service. I just want to know what you think about this. It's something I'm considering, just so that I can get into like a regular type of studio space, maybe get us a little bit better camera, and just have some... a producer that's helping constantly. I'm fortunate enough right now. I got this guy Sherb, who brings us into his studios over on in Conscious Studios. I got a guy Adam who helps give me advice. I got a guy Chris and my buddy Ken Highland and Chris Mako. I got guys helping out, but I'd love to be able to, things cost money. I'd love to be able to create a system that's a little bit stronger. But also, I don't want to damage what we have going on. I'm grateful to you guys for calling in. You can also feel free to call in and hit the hotline with any other issues or problems. Whatever's going on, man. You got something in your brain, something in your heart, drop it in there, and I appreciate it, man. And if I can relate at all, I will share my experience. Or if you hit me with a stomper and you got my brain going, then I'm going to share it like we did here just now with Nick, because that's wild to think that in 10 years, women could have all that money, And does that just change the dynamic of what it means to be in a relationship and what it means, how that fits? Can we still be a man if we're not the breadwinner? Can you still feel like a man? I mean, it's hard to feel like one now. I don't know if it's hard to feel like one, but it's hard to feel like you can express that you're one. But also I think some of that's just America. I hope it is. And hopefully it's just a phase that we're going through and some of this evens out. Because I think we should all be able to have the true joy of whatever our gender is, or even if you're gender neutral, you should be able to have that joy, whatever that is, I don't think somebody has to win. And that's what I don't like about some of the feminism. It's like they have to win. Why do you have to win? You don't have to, you're not beating men, okay? Equality means that we're all trying to figure it out and we're working together. And some things I don't want to be equal, because some things aren't for debate. Some things aren't, they're not something you can equate, I still want women to be women and men to be men. Because I think that's a beautiful little puzzle that we've been trying to put together for centuries. And I don't want us to stop that, And I think that's nature. That's how nature works. That's how nature works, man. So, and I love that, man. I'm a Romeo and Juliet-er. You know that. But thank you guys for calling in this week, man. I'm going to leave us out here. I'll see you guys next weekend at Calusa Casino. And then I will see you coming up soon. Nashville. If you have any friends in Nashville, July 7th and 8th, send them out, man. I'm excited for that weekend. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right, here we go, man, on the way out. Thank you guys for hanging out on this past weekend.
Gentlemen, I'm Jonathan Kite, and welcome to Kite Club, a podcast where I'll be sharing thoughts on things like current events, stand-up stories, and 7 ways to pleasure your partner. The answer may shock you. Sometimes I'll interview my friends. Sometimes I won't. And as always, I'll be joined by the voices in my head.
You have 3 new voice messages.
A lot of people are talking about Kite Club. I've been talking about Kite Club for so long, longer than anybody else. So great.
Hey, sweetheart, here's a deal. Anyone who doesn't listen to Kite Club is a dodgy bloody wanker. Do you know what I mean?
Hi, I'll take a quarter pounder with cheese and a McFlurry.
Sorry, sir, but our ice cream machine is broken.
No!
I think Tom Hanks just butt-dialed me. Anyway, first rule of Kite Club is tell everyone about Kite Club. Second rule of Kite Club is tell everyone about Kite Club. Third rule, like and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts or watch us on YouTube, yeah? And yes, don't worry, my Brad Pitt impression will get better.